Good afternoon. Welcome to the March 23rd, 2022 meeting of the Oceanside City Council. We're going to begin with roll call, please. Mr. Navarro?
Mayor Sanchez.
Present.
Deputy Mayor Keim. Councilmember Jensen. Councilmember Rodriguez. Councilmember Weiss.
Thank you. Please rise. And welcome here this evening is Reverend Elizabeth Wilson Menahan, Associate Pastor from Oceanside First Presbyterian Church.
Thank you for having me here today on this beautiful day in paradise. Let us join together as we thank God for this day. God, we thank you for another day in our beautiful city. We thank you that in this Women's History Month, that we have incredible female leadership on our city council with our mayor, Esther Sanchez, and our city councilor, Corey Jensen. We thank you for their wisdom and leadership and all that they bring to our city. We also thank you for our other city councilors, Ryan Keim, Christopher Rodriguez, and Peter Wise. We pray that they would rule fairly and justly, taking into account all of the citizens of our fair city. May they always remember to be mindful in their decisions, not just listening to the loudest voices, but those who will help them to make this city even better than it already is. Thank you for the business that is taking place this evening and the continued hard work of all who work in our city's government. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Thank you, Reverend Menahan. Please remain standing and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. And just an announcement beforehand, a couple of announcements. Item number 23, advanced metering, has been pulled from the agenda. So if you are here for item number 23, it has been pulled. It will be heard at a different time, a different date. So hopefully you, anyone that is here for that, and for only that purpose, you'll understand it will not be called. Also, I would like to call forward item number 16, which is on a consent calendar. Do we have any requests to speak from the public on item number 16, other than the presentation?
We do not have any members of the public that wish to speak on item number 16.
Okay, item number 16 is acceptance of a donation in the amount of $75,000 from the Melba Bishop Pickleball Booster Association and approval of the appropriation of these funds to the Pickleball Courts Phase 1 project account. Is there a motion to move approval? Is there a second? Okay. Please, let's vote on that one item.
Motion approved, 5-0.
Thank you. And now we're going to begin with our proclamations and presentations. Thank you. And I see that Soroptimist International of Oceanside Carlsbad is in the house. Yes? Yes. So come on down. We've got the president, Denise Mueller-Korenik, president, and we have other members here on a very joyous, very special occasion, an anniversary, 75th anniversary of Soroptimist International of Oceanside Carlsbad. Let's give a great big hand for that. 75 years. Well, I do have a proclamation here. Thank you. And it states, and you're going to be having an event to celebrate that, right?
Yes, April 1st.
Yes, April 1st. Okay. Okay. Whereas Soroptimist International is a worldwide organization for business and professional women who work to improve the lives of women and girls locally and around the world. And whereas Soroptimist International of Oceanside Carlsbad is one of 42 clubs in the Desert Coast region which is one of 28 regions in Seroptimus International of the Americas, and SIA is one of the 4 federations of Seroptimus International. And whereas Seroptimus International was formed in 1921 in Oakland, California, and now has 160,000 members in 21 countries around the world. And whereas Seroptimists are leaders in their community, joining with other women and engaging in awareness, advocacy, and action to make the world a better place. And whereas Seroptimist members have been and are leaders in their community, for example, Golda Zonisser, yes? Golda Zonisser, founder of Oceanside Hospital in 1933. That's where I was born, the Oceanside Community Hospital up here on the hill here. Mary Todd, the first female sworn police officer and mother of Buddy Todd, the first Oceanside resident to give his life for his country during World War II. And Colleen O'Hara, founder of the Women's Resource Center and 2-term Oceanside City Council member. Is Colleen here? What? Okay. Whereas Seroptimus, I didn't see her, that's why I said, wait, is she here? Whereas Seroptimus Live Your Dream Awards project helps women who provide the primary support for their families by giving them the resources they need to improve their education, skills, and employment prospects. And whereas Seroptimus Dream It, Be It, Support for Girls project gives girls the tools they need to achieve their education and career goals, empowering them to break cycles of poverty, violence, and abuse. And whereas Seroptimus International of Oceanside Carlsbad was chartered on March 29th, 1947, and will be celebrating 75 years of service to women and girls in Oceanside, Carlsbad, and Camp Pendleton. Therefore, be it resolved that I, Mayor Esther Sanchez, on behalf of the City of Oceanside, declare March 29th, 2022, right on the button, right, as Seroptimus International of Oceanside Carlsbad Day in the City of Oceanside, and encourage all citizens to support and congratulate the many great works of Seroptimus International of Oceanside Carlsbad. Thank you. And Denise, I'm going to give this to you, and I'm also going to give you the mic to introduce who's here.
Well, I tell you what, I'm going to have stage fright and screw up names, so I'm going to hand the mic down and let everybody do their own introduction, and then I'll go ahead and speak.
Hi, everyone, and thank you so much. I'm Mary Beth Glenn. I'm the vice president of the club currently.
Hi, and I'm Lori Summers, and I have been with the club for, 35 years? Or no, I'm sorry, 25 years. I don't want to introduce that.
So I'm Kathy Kinane, and I've been with the club for about 5 years.
I'm Michelle D'Elia. I handle the money, and I've been with the club for 23 years.
Hi, and thank you, Esther. Kathy Molderig, and I've been a member and past president for 23 years.
Hi, Sherry Goddard, also a past president, but current recording secretary, and happy to be here and serve with all these wonderful ladies.
Well, we have over 150 years of experience right here, okay?
Well, a little bit of background. So I have also been with the club for 25 years. They finally convinced me to be president. And my mentor was actually Colleen O'Hara while she was actually on the council. So we have a very mighty club. We have approximately 60 members, and we have done phenomenal things. So I'm going to read a few little items. A lot was already in the proclamation, and I want to appreciate the appreciation from the council of Women's History Month, which was a couple weeks ago, and then also for our 75th year, because it's very important to be understood and appreciated by the city for the work that we do. Let's see, I'm going to skip a few of these because I already said all this. But our club has just shy of 60 members, and we represent professional businesswomen, retirees, and entrepreneurs within our community with a heart to serve. A few of us joined this evening, which of course we're all together, so I appreciate that. Seroptimus transformed the lives and status of women and girls through education, empowerment, and enabling opportunities. Our mission is that we are a global volunteer organization that provides women and girls with access to the education and training they need to achieve economic empowerment. And we do that with a vision of women and girls having the resources and opportunities to reach their full potential and to live their dreams. We actually, yes, celebrated 75 years as an Oceanside club, however, 100 years as Soroptimist International. It was actually founded in Oakland, as you mentioned, in 1921 by Violet Richardson. One of the other elements that a lot of people do not understand, because a lot of people have actually heard about a lot of clubs. They heard about Rotary and Optimist, and a lot of times they say, "What's Soroptimist? What is that?" We actually have been around for, like I said, 100 years, and at the international level, we actually hold general consultative status at the United Nations with representatives in all 7 major offices. This allows Soroptimists to attend high-level political forums and to work with national governments to influence agenda. Oh, thank you. I'll help with my page turner, thank you. And for decades, we have created, I'm going to see if I messed that up. No, I didn't. For decades, we have created and supported international grassroots projects, championed issues concerning human trafficking, clean water, sanitation, quality education for all, and sustainable development, just to name a few. We are known to be on-the-ground citizens with who work with people in our communities, not just our fundraisers. Soroptimist International is honored to be recognized for our 75 years of service to the city of Oceanside, and we truly appreciate being here and serving our citizens here on the ground in our local communities. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Denise, and all the women. Thank you so much. So we're going to go ahead and get pictures. Let me move this back. Thank you so much, Denise. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Oh, I got it.
So I believe we now have Nevadez Boxing Training Center in the house. Yes? Come on down. Also, Jimmy Figueroa with Resilience. Thank you. Hi, Brian. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, well, this is a very, very special treat, okay? Because this is a proclamation in honor of the Nevadez Boxing Center. These guys have really given to the community. And when Jimmy Figueroa approached me about honoring them this evening, I thought, oh my God, yes, we have to do this. Because I actually walked into Brian's dad's boxing center in Vista and saw the great things they were doing there with the kids. We're talking about at-risk youth and working with them and being mentors and really making those changes, actually making changes. I had, when I was a deputy public defender, I became a member of the Latino Peace Officers Association and worked with, it started off with marshals, they then unified with the sheriff's department and the prosecutors. They all got together, this group in Chula Vista, they got together, bought a building in National City, turned it into a boxing center with boxing, but also with computers to help these kids, and it was truly a mentoring program, and laundry facilities. I mean, it was down in National City, very, very successful. The prosecutors, the police officers, the marshals, everyone, very much involved. They received funding through the UPS. I think it was over $100,000 from UPS, and also from one of the Native American casinos. So that was a fantastic program, and I'm happy to say that now this is yet another generation, committing to the youth of our community here in Oceanside. Born and raised in Oceanside, right, as I understand. And so I have a proclamation, then I'm going to hand the mic to you, Brian. And okay, so I know you're a little shy, but we're going to get it out of you. Anyway, proclamation in honor of Nevades Boxing Training Center for Community Service. Whereas approximately 30 years ago, Bernardo Nevades wanted to help and bring hope to at-risk youth, opened the backyard of his Oceanside home in the Tri-City area for a boxing and mentoring program. And whereas Bernardo Nevades' boxing program, that's Brian's dad, grew out of the gang conflicts of the 1990s, when gang violence and gang-related homicides in Oceanside were at their peak. Leadership within the Black, Latino, and Samoan communities created a united council to address gang violence. The United Council received praise and support from the Oceanside City Council, including $5,000 in Community Development Block Grant CDBG program funds for the Nevades Boxing Program. And whereas about 2 years ago, and following in his dad's footsteps, Brian Nevades established the Nevades Boxing Training Center in Oceanside on Coast Highway in partnership with his wife, Sandra, who manages the business. And whereas Jimmy Figueroa of Resilience, having grown up in the Tri-City area with Brian, approached Brian and Sandra Nevades about joining forces to address the at-risk youth in his program, a program partly funded through the San Diego County Probation Department. And whereas since the Nevades Resilience Partnership, over 25 mentees on juvenile probation have participated in weekly workouts at Nevades Boxing. And whereas Coach Brian and his wife Sandra have welcomed Resilience mentees with open arms, support, and encouragement, with Coach Brian becoming a mentor to many of the youth on juvenile probation. The atmosphere at the gym supports pursuing a healthy and active lifestyle, as well as pursuing their individual dreams through hard work, discipline, accountability, and teamwork. And whereas Nevades Boxing is a USA Boxing registered gym that focuses on professional and amateur boxing, family owned and operated with more than 20 years of coaching and fighting experience, Nevades Boxing is a current 3-division Sugarbert and 3 divisions California Golden Gloves champions with many more wins to their name. All skill levels are accepted and welcomed at Nevades Boxing. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Mayor Esther Sanchez, on behalf of the City of Oceanside, in recognition of their multi-generational and lifelong commitment to the youth of Oceanside as mentors, and in honor of their many successes in providing positive alternatives, structure, and access to positive lifestyles and futures, do hereby proclaim today, March 23rd, 2022, as Nevades Boxing Training Center Day in the City of Oceanside. Many thanks to Brian and Sandra for your commitment to our Oceanside youth in bringing them hope. Thank you, guys. Let's give a great big hand. So I'm gonna give this to you and or Sandra, and then the mic.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
You're an inspiration.
I just want to say thank you to everyone, and especially Esther for giving us this acknowledgement, and Jimmy for even doing everything he does. He goes above and beyond for us, and for us, it's a pleasure to give back to the community. We love doing what we do. We love working with the boys. They have fun. I want to give them somewhere to go instead of just not having a place to go. I want them to have a safe spot to go and be around positive people, and I appreciate everything, and I'm thankful for everything. And thank you guys so much. You want to say something?
I think, first of all, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Mayor Esther Sanchez and the council for acknowledging Nevades Boxing. It's one of our local businesses, but Brian and I have known each other since elementary school, growing up in Tri-City, and I still remember those days where we would hang out in front of his apartment, and like we would ask Brian to come hang out, and his dad would be like, no, he's gonna go to the gym. And as I got to know more about the story, and when they were in Vista, we wanted to create a partnership then between Resilience and Nevades Boxing Gym, but when they came to Oceanside, the accessibility just became a lot more possible. We have kids that will walk from Oceanside High School and walk down to the gym. He sees the kids walking downtown at times and says, hey, come to the gym. We go once a week. As a group, But Brian makes his own deals with the kids and says, hey, if you come 3 days in a row, you can have those gloves. If you come on this day, you can have this shirt. And these kids are showing up, and they feel welcome when they go in there. We've had the opportunity to work out alongside amateurs and professionals in the gym. It really is a diamond in our city and downtown, and what's taking place there is very special. I truly believe we're going to get a world champion from Oceanside out of that facility. It was about maybe a year and a half ago that Brian shared with me an old newspaper article from the North County Times, written by Lola Sherman. Some of you may know Lola Sherman. She's been a local writer for quite some time. And that article highlighted what his dad and Wayne Goodney were doing back in 1993. And it had a picture of his dad working with kids in the backyard. And so when we approached Brian and Sandra about this partnership, it just made sense. He watched his dad do this. Now he's following in his dad's legacy. And so for us, we're very honored. We're thankful. And I can't even express what it means for the kids to have you in their lives and for us to have you in our lives too. So, and I'll let Joe speak.
It's just part of being good. I mean, it's good to be a part of this circle. Man, I thank you for your service, man. And just opening your doors for resilience in the youth. It just doesn't even, it teaches us about life too. Sometimes we have to fight. You know, it's like every day we're in the ring. You know what I'm saying? And we have to be able to have endurance. And it teaches the kids something also, to have endurance. No matter what situation that we go through, continue on to get up. Life doesn't end when we fall down. Continue on to get up and continue on fighting for your life, fighting for your family, and so forth. So thank you, Navarro's Boxing. Appreciate you. We appreciate the city of Oceanside.
Okay, they're okay. But listen, I just want to say, my dad was a boxer when he was young, and certainly that was something that is kind of cultural as well for the Latino community. But it does teach you a lot of really good lessons and in terms of discipline and in living a better life. And I just want to say thank you so much, Brian and Sandra, for having your business here in Oceanside. You both live here, always lived here, and it's just really fantastic. This is an Oceanside business, Oceanside people, Oceanside folks addressing Oceanside's needs. So thank you very much. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, we've got pickleball in the house. Come on down, pickleball. This is very special. We actually are receiving money instead of, putting it out there. So really, really excited. Got some more pickleball. It does look like it's Women's History Month, doesn't it? I still have yet to get on the court, but I will. All right, well, this is very, very special. These are the Melba Bishop Pickleball Boosters Association. And we have today, they wanted to give us a ceremonial check. That's right, it doesn't fit in your back pocket. In the amount of $75,000. So, and I'm gonna hand the mic over to you.
Hi, we are so pleased to be here today. And my name's Janae Alms, and I'm the current president of Melba Bishop Pickleball Association. Monica right here was a past president, and about 10 years ago when we started seeing the vision of what was gonna happen with pickleball, we came to the city and said, hey, we need to have more pickleball courts because we were so full. And we started looking around for locations, and there wasn't really a good place, but we knew we needed to raise some money if we wanted something to happen. So through tournaments, through fundraisers, through donations, through different organizations, we set aside this money, and then luckily Monica and I decided 3 years ago we were going to do this every day until we got this done, and COVID came, which delayed everything, but we are so grateful today, especially to a few people. First of all, Peter Weiss for bringing this up to the City Council to put it on the radar that this was needed. We also want to thank Mark Olson. He talked us through a lot of stuff, helped us knew what we needed to do. Of course, Esther Sanchez had come to a meeting that we had and talked about the needs that we had. Pickleball is so unique. It is one of the very few sports that truly does help with socializing. People get there, they go there, they play the very first time. I've had women come up to me to say, you know, I thought my sports days were over. I'm 75. There's no way I thought I was going to be doing this, but I can play pickleball. I've had women come up and say, you know what, coming here and playing and meeting people who care that I'm here, my life has changed. I have a reason for getting out of bed today. We have families that get to come because this is a sport you can play at any age. And they say, we enjoy coming out here on these courts and doing this with our families. This covers all socioeconomic groups. It is something that builds both mentally and physically in helping people with their welfare. And because we love this sport so much, we were so thrilled. The first time we saw the trucks coming in, I got so many pictures, right? They're here, they're finally doing this, where it's really happening. And then when the concrete came, I got more pictures. They're pouring the concrete. And I have to tell you, Kimberly Corbin was instrumental in doing this, and we cannot thank her enough. She listened to us, took our input because some things needed to be changed a little bit to make it work best. And we just are thrilled to death to be able to give this check and know that it's going to go for something that's this positive to the community. So thank you so very much.
We're going to have a picture here. Memorialize this.
Thank you. Yay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Do I
you so
actually
much.
hand you this, or are we going to keep it?
I don't know, do we keep it?
Can I post it on our courts, or, yeah? We don't know. I'll have it over here.
We'll figure that out. Okay, City Attorney report.
Thank you. The City Council met in closed session to discuss item 1, conference with labor negotiator on the status of negotiations with the Oceanside City Employees Association and the management employees of the City of Oceanside. There's no action to report on item 1 under the Brown Act. Item 2, conference with on public employee performance evaluation involving the city attorney. There was discussion, but no action to report on that item. And with respect to the city manager, I will report as follows. The City Council voted 3-1 with Mayor Sanchez no, Councilmember Rodriguez absent, to approve a separation agreement with City Manager Deanna Lorson. As part of the agreement, City Manager Lorson has signed a letter of resignation dated today's date. The separation agreement implements the terms of her employment agreement previously approved by the City Council on September 25th, 2019 in open session. The separation agreement will be placed on file with the city clerk. With regard to item 2B, public employee appointment, with regard to the city manager, the City Council voted 4-0 with Councilmember Rodriguez absent to appoint Jonathan Borrego as interim city manager. The terms and condition of his interim appointment will be addressed in an employment agreement to be considered in open session on April 6th of this year. Finally, the council has given direction to staff to conduct a national recruitment for the city manager position. That's all, Mayor.
Thank you. We now are on our consent calendar items, and those are items 4 through 19, 16 having already been approved. Is there a motion for approval?
Move
Councilmember
approval.
Weiss.
Move approval.
Okay, there's a motion and a second.
We do have public that pulled some items from the consent calendar.
My apologies. Which ones are they?
Items 6, 12, 17, and 19.
Okay. Balance, we'll vote on the balance. Please vote.
Motion approved, 5-0.
Thank you. Item number 6 is approval of a purchase order in an amount not to exceed $74,356 to Next Tech Systems, Inc. for 44 Ether 1 ED3575 managed switches for the Public Works Engineering Division, and authorization for the Financial Services Director or designee to execute the purchase order. We have
Katie Taylor?
Katie Taylor.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Good evening, City Council. Seems like a pretty exciting evening already. On item number 6, approval of the purchase in the amount of $74,356 to Next Tech Systems. I want to address this expenditure and all city spending and the danger inflation represents. Every line item expenditure needs to be scrutinized. Based on current inflation, many high-profile economic analysts are predicting a recession by third quarter of 2022. Is the city calculating their increased costs as inflation eats away at the value of the dollar? Inflation is visible at all levels. As an example, my gasoline purchase on March 18th, $90.23 for 14.79 gallons of gas, $42 more than when I was paying when President Trump had our energy sector at full capacity. The failed Biden administration and feckless Democrats in Sacramento, pushing their Church of Climate Change and Green New Deals, are destroying the economy, including outrageous fuel prices, increasing costs of water and utility, food, but just basically everything. I want to tell you something. I want everybody to listen to me here tonight really closely. I have personally dealt with bad political decisions in the course of the few years. I sold over 4,000 bank-owned assets for every major lender, RTC, FDIC, etc. The financial destruction was caused by Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, as well as other regulatory failures with savings and loans. The housing collapse was a catastrophe for Oceanside owners and people all over the country. Especially hard hit was the minority community. If you do not think this can happen again, you are wrong. So I ask you, what steps is the city taking to prepare for the increase in fixed costs? I suggest you factor $7 to $8 for fuel for city vehicles, 20% more for utilities, and prepare new cost projections for 2022. No new hiring except to replace police, fire, and other emergency workers. This must be done ASAP. Thank you.
Thank you. And actually, this does state that this will minimize the need to purchase additional switches to add to traffic devices in the future. So this is actually cost-effective. Councilmember Weiss?
Move approval.
There's a motion and a second. Please vote.
Motion approved, 5-0.
Thank you. Item number 12 is approval of a 3-year professional services agreement with Counseling Team International to provide counseling services to police department employees in the amount of $22,200 per year, and authorization for the city manager or designee to execute the agreement. And we have, again, Katie Taylor. Please come on up.
Thank you again. Regarding this item, I'm a person who supports the police, whatever helps them do their jobs and keep them physically and mentally healthy. But a recent incident with my own family off Cameo Drive in Oceanside, not just the police need mental health relief. We are all suffering mentally from the increased crime and homelessness visible all over the city. Frustration every day watching the city go downhill. On March 11th, in front of my grandson's house on Cameo Drive, an unknown man was walking up and around their home, their next-door neighbor, and was stalking and acting strangely. The neighbor started filming what he was doing. Oceanside Non-Emergency Police Line was called to report the individual, who appeared to be homeless. Ended up in front of the garage of the neighbor across the street, and the family was not home. The police response, no officers available to respond. After about an hour, a man drove up in a car and took the individual away. It seems he had just been released from the Tri-City mental hold, just walked away, and the family member was trying to find him. Half hour after that now, an hour and a half, Oceanside police responded. At last they were given the information, at that time they were given the information the person had been picked up. The response, okay, problem solved, and they took off. No more questions asked. Problem was not solved. An hour and a half to respond to a man stalking our homes, acting strangely, is not acceptable. My granddaughter brought the kids inside, closed and locked all windows and doors, having no idea who this person was. I called and left a message for Chief Armillo. I was very upset about the incident with no return call, none from anybody from the police department. Bottom line, our crime and homeless issue is getting worse. Carlsbad resident Marjorie Gottwit, murdered in 2019 in her home, stabbed 142 times by a homeless female killer and man, just pleaded guilty and received life without parole. Her male accomplice is still fighting this in the court system. DA, District Attorney Summer Steffens, just released a report. I hope everybody here has seen it, what the crime statistics regarding the homeless are. It is shocking. I am calling for new leadership in Oceanside to tackle the homeless issue and crime. Police Chief Armillo is failing the community. Thank you.
Thank you. This is very essential to providing services. Councilmember Weiss?
Actually, I'm not sure the comments are applicable to this item, so I'll move approval.
Okay. There's a motion and a second. Please vote.
Motion approved, 5-0.
Thank you. Item number 17 is submittal of the second quarter financial status report, acceptance of the report, and approval of the budget adjustments. And we have Katie Taylor. Ms. Taylor?
Okay, regarding the financial status report, the council should not approve the second quarter financial report without further information on what the impact of inflation, skyrocketing costs for fixed costs such as fuel, water, building, operating costs, and also delinquent payments. In other words, accounts receivable. An example is on page 5 of the report prepared by staff. Water fund revenues, with business owners and residential customers struggling to pay their bill. This is only the beginning. Now with $6 plus gas, I expect higher delinquency rates overall. At $7 for gas, we may see a real-time crisis. Combined with all the other price increases residents and business owners are dealing with, we have an inflation emergency, and I hope you all treat it that way. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to move approval. Is there a second? Second. Thank you. Motion and second. Please vote.
Motion approved, 5-0.
Thank you. Item number 19, adoption of a resolution expressing support for the city's participation in the Action for Spent Fuel Solutions Now Coalition. And we have Crystal Jabara and Bart Ziegler. Crystal Jabara, come forward.
Good evening, Mayor and Council and City staff. I just want to say on behalf of Supervisor Desmond, we thank you for moving forward on this resolution. We're here to answer any questions if you have any tonight. We also have a representative from SoCal Edison if you have any technical questions, but we are just here if you have any questions, and we want to thank you.
Thank you. Bart Ziegler. Wait until you get to the podium, please.
This one?
Yes.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, City Council. Approving the resolution from the County Board of Supervisors is not what we would advocate. And I think you're in receipt of a letter that I wrote to each of you. Yeah, okay.
Yes.
I think that it's time to pause and give what could wipe away Oceanside and their revenue-based tax and a lot of conditions that are listed in that letter. I think you should take the time to pause and give it some thought rather than a really rushed approval of a softened down resolution. The Samuel Lawrence Foundation has been an advocate for safety since we helped shutter a nuclear power plant that Edison was going to start at 70%, June 4th, 2013. Since that time, Edison has shown problems with nearly dropping a 50-ton canister fully loaded with fuel cells, fuel rods, and wasn't going to make it public until a whistleblower made it public. So I just urge you to really seriously consider the resolution, not passing it today, not passing it with brevity, but instead look at the specific items that are of concern for the safety of your community and your own families. Are there any questions that I can address? The metal canisters we're very concerned about. There's a whole group of scientists who are very concerned about the metal canisters being thin and prone to corrosion and prone to cracking. I find it of concern that there's no emergency measures if a can breaks, breaches, if there's an earthquake, or now we're looking at nuclear terrorism in Ukraine. That's something that no one previously had discussed. We had, and we're also calling it an environmental bomb. What you have up there is the largest nuclear dump site in America. So I would say, rather than a quick decision to pass a watered-down resolution, please consider the facts. We're available at any time. We're a nonpartisan group of serving the California. Any questions? Are there any questions? Okay.
Thank you. Okay, Councilmember Weiss.
Move approval.
There's a motion. Councilmember Rodriguez.
I'm going to second that, but I also want to make a few comments. I think it's important that we have worked with and are joining a coalition of local jurisdictions that have thoroughly worked with all stakeholders on this process, and I'm comfortable with moving forward on this current resolution. Could there be more? Could we go outside the box and add a whole plethora of additional language? Absolutely, but I am satisfied with this process, and as a coalition, our voice is going to be bigger versus going off on our own with our own laundry list of additional requests. So that's why I'm seconding this, and I appreciate the county and Jim Desmond's office for working with us and asking us to come aboard. Thank you.
Thank you. There are several groups that are involved, and I'm involved in a couple, including that by Congressman Mike Levin. Yes, I agree that more could be said, but at least there is agreement on this. So there's a motion and a second. Please vote.
Motion approved, 5-0.
Thank you. Item number 20, this is the first one under general items. Adoption of a resolution to certify and approve the hiring of Karen Lacer as an hourly extra help consulting assistant effective April 3rd, 2022, in the amount not to exceed $42,147 per year to fill a critically needed position in the Police Department Professional Standards Unit. We have a report by Sean Marchand, Police Captain. No, right. Sorry.
Captain Kedrick Sadler.
Right. Sorry.
Good evening.
That's what it was in the agenda, so I read that.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, Honorable Council members. I'm here tonight to ask that we adopt a resolution to certify and approve the hiring of Karen Lacer as an hourly extra help consulting assistant with the police department in the amount not to exceed $42,147. Staff recommends that the City Council adopt a resolution to certify and approve the hiring of Karen Lacer as an hourly extra help consulting assistant effective April 3rd, 2022, in the amount not to exceed $42,147 per year to fill a critically needed position in the police department professional standards. So Lieutenant Laser, she retired February 22nd of this year after serving 30 years honorably with the Oceanside Police Department. There's currently a slew of legislation coming down from Sacramento that's impacting our police department. A lot of this new legislation is impacting our hiring standards, our use of force and de-escalation tactics, our decertification of police officers and the certification of those officers, and the use of law enforcement equipment. That's just to name a few of them. This workload has currently exceeded our capacity of our current professional standards unit. As of right now, we have one lieutenant and one sergeant who fills the duties of the professional standard unit. And with the work that they have to do, including their collateral duties, implementing new policies and updating our current policy is just exceeding what they're able to do. This is a highly technical position for a policy writer. This is not a position that we can just grab any officer or any manager and stick them into this role and ask for them to be able to implement new policy and be up to speed with this. It requires a level of familiarity with the current department policies as well as the impact of this new legislation that's coming out of Sacramento and impacting our profession. Retiree Karen Laser, she worked prior to retiring. She worked extensively in the professional standards unit. She was the lieutenant in charge of that unit. So a part of her duties was the implementing of new policy and keeping our policies and procedures up to date, as well as training standards, hiring standards. So she has a wealth of knowledge in this area. Again, she possesses the knowledge and the background to implement these policies. She understands the impacts of this new legislation that's coming down and how it's going to impact our profession and how we do our day-to-day business as police officers in the city. She has a familiarity in existing projects in the professional standards unit, and she will be able to see those projects through. So before she left, a part of what she was doing in the professional standards unit was to implement these new policies. So she's already familiar with it, and it's pretty much where she's going to be picking up where she left off before she retired. The need to immediately manage these projects stems from a limit in the capacity of the professional standards unit. Again, we just don't have the capacity, the bodies right now. As you all know, we're suffering from some serious staffing shortages. So even if we wanted to take an officer or a manager, we don't even have the bodies right now to fill that position. So therefore, staff feels that this is a critical need that needs to be filled immediately. So staff is recommending that the City Council adopt this resolution to certify and approve the hiring of Karen Laser as an hourly extra help consulting assistant effective April 3rd of this year in the amount of $42,147 per year to fill a critically needed position in the police department's professional standards unit. And just to finalize with Karen, with the background that she's had, understanding everything that we need, she's going to be somebody who's going to be able to come in and hit the ground running. We don't have to hire somebody from outside, and then we have to go through an entire hiring process and a background check and all of that stuff. Being that she just retired, we could bring her right in and she could get started and continue the progress that we've made with our policies.
Thank you.
For any question.
Thank you. Do we have any requests to speak from the public?
There are no requests to speak on this item.
Deputy Mayor Kime?
Move approval.
There's a motion and a second. Please vote.
Motion approved, 5-0.
Thank you. Item number 21, adoption of a resolution authorizing the city to apply for and receive grant funds up to 25% of project costs, estimated to be at approximately $10 million for United States Bureau of Reclamation, Water Smart, Title 16 Wind Water Reclamation and Reuse Projects for fiscal year 2022 for the Pure Water Oceanside Project, a pretty phenomenal project. Appropriation of awarded funds to the Water Utilities Department and authorization for the Water Utilities Director or designee to act on behalf of the city as signatory to accept grant funds. We've got a report by Carrie Dale, our Water Utilities Director. Still walking on clouds.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and council members. Carrie Dale, Water Utilities Director. Yes, we had a busy day yesterday, and I'll go over that very briefly when covering item 21 this evening. This evening, we are asking that you adopt a resolution authorizing the city to apply for additional grant funds in nearly a $10 million amount with the Bureau of Reclamation, appropriate those funds, and authorize myself, Water Utilities Director, or designee to act on behalf of the city as signatory. We had a notice of funding availability earlier this year. We did submit our application in mid-March, so just last week. The project will increase the city's local drinking water supply to 30% when fully implemented, and will treat water to meet or exceed state as well as federal standards. The funding opportunities require that the resolution be adopted by the City Council, and that the city provide 75% matching funds on the project. I've got a typo in the slide. The estimated funding is a little under $10 million. If they are awarded, grants will be deposited into the account shown here. It is a $70 million project. The cost share for this portion would be paid out of this year's available budget, which is a little over $7 million. All existing construction contracts have been awarded, and as you know, we had a ribbon cutting yesterday. Although the facility is operating and permitted, it still is under construction until midsummer. So as I mentioned, staff is recommending adoption of the resolution today and appropriating the funds, authorizing the Water Utilities Director or designee to act on behalf of the city. And I'll answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Do we have any requests to speak from the public?
We do not have any requests to speak from the public on this item.
Okay, Councilmember Weiss.
So I have a question. If we get this money, where do the savings go back to?
The savings offset project costs. We haven't even modeled this grant in the long-term financial projections, so it would potentially offset costs for future rates.
Thank you. Move approval.
Thank you. A motion and second, and this did come up, and this was part of a discussion at yesterday's ribbon cutting. I have to say that there were several agencies involved that would be involved in this process that know that we are asking for these funds. So it's very exciting. Very exciting. Thank you. There's a motion and second. Please vote.
Motion approved, 5-0.
Thank you. We're now on item number 22, and that is award of a contract to GSE Construction Company, Inc. of Livermore in the amount of $2.3 million for the Pilgrim Creek Sewer Lift Station Improvement Project. Authorization for the city engineer to approve change orders for up to $234,200. And authorization for the city manager or designee to execute the agreement upon receipt of all supporting documents. Okay, wanted to look up, and we have a report by Maybell Uyeda, Senior Civil Engineer.
Great, thank you. Honorable Mayor and council members, this is for award of contract for Pilgrim Creek's sewer lift station. There we go. Staff recommends that the City Council award a contract to GSE Construction Company of Livermore in the amount of $2,342,000 and authorize the city engineer to approve change orders for up to 10% of that original contract value. The project is located just north of the Oceanside Municipal Golf Course, right across from Reynolds Elementary School on Douglas Drive. The sewer lift station was built in 1976 and one of the city's smaller below-ground lift stations. It is near the end of its useful life, and the pumps failed last year and resulted in a spill. It's been an increasing operational issue for our city staff. The improvements would involve replacement of the pumps and piping, as well as structural improvements to the wet wells and dry wells and electrical upgrades. In January of 19 of, it was last year, but 5 bids were received, and the engineer's estimate was about $100,000 more than the lowest responsible bidder, GSE, at $2.3 million. The highest bidder was about $1 million more at $3.4 million. The total cost of the project with the contract and contingency is approximately $2.6 million. With the amount of funds that we have in the lift station account for upgrades, we will have $1 million left in our 2022-23 fiscal year budget. And a funding source would come from sewer flow and service charges in the sewer fixed asset replacement fund. Staff recommends that the city award contract to GSE Construction Company in the amount of $2,342,000 and authorize city engineer to approve change orders for 10% of that amount. I'm open to any questions you may have.
Thank you very much. Do we have any requests to speak from the public?
We do not have any requests to speak on this item.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and move approval. Second. We have a motion and a second. No other requests to speak. Please vote.
Motion approved, 5-0.
Thank you. We have item number 27, which is adoption of an ordinance to adopt the final version of the redistricted city council district map. Do we have any requests to speak on this item from the public?
Yes, we have one request to speak from Jimmy Knott.
Okay, Jimmy.
Mayor, council members, Jimmy Knott, 127 Sherry Lane. I have a critique I would like to give onto this. Number one, the Zoom input was excellent. I appreciated that. Public input was very well done. Staff actually had done a superior job. I want to compliment staff on this. However, what was needed was standardized maps. The ones that was given by the consultant really outdid the ones offered by staff. In fact, the ones that was posted online were really rough to deal with. The public had difficulties, and even still, it was difficult for the public to deal with. I would, in the future, maybe suggest to use Google Maps if nothing else would work. Something like that is needed because people could not take and tell exactly where their home was and what was going to be done. So that would be a suggestion I would take and throw out. And even at this late hour, I would suggest cleaning that up so people can know where their home is in the district that's being proposed to be changed. There was no really useful universal negatives that was given. People had questions that were asked to me that I couldn't answer. Like if in one district there were fees that was established within that district and you were living in that district, what would take place if you were all of a sudden switched to another district? Would you still be responsible for those fees that would take and be transferred, or any tax obligation, or any type of thing that would be involved like that? And the final one is there is an absent consent of representation of the affected parties. This is something which is really national, constitutional, that needs to be addressed. If a party is affected by a change, they need to be consulted individually because of the absence of consent, because they are the ones that are affected. You may make your decision, but they have a right to consent or object, and they have to be consulted individually. We do this for even some of our weed abatement districts. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Knott.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Please title the ordinance. Mr. Mullen?
Yes, this is the adoption of an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Oceanside, California, amending Chapter 2, Article 15 of the Oceanside City Code to amend the City Council district boundaries in accordance with California Fair Maps Act.
Thank you. Please vote.
Motion approved, 5-0.
Thank you. It is now 6 o'clock, so we are going to address our public hearing item. We do have one. It is item number 24, presentation of the draft fiscal year 2022 to 2023 annual action plan. That's the HUD, Housing and Urban Development Annual Action Plan for review by the City Council and for public comment. Staff will present the final plan to the City Council for approval on May 4th, 2022. No action is required at this hearing. I'm going to go ahead and open this public hearing and request disclosures from council members regarding constituent contacts and correspondence.
Staff, and I believe we received several emails this morning and afternoon.
Staff and the public.
Staff and public, and I did attend a public meeting on this.
Staff and public.
Staff.
Okay, Mr. Navarro, do we have any correspondence and or petitions?
All the correspondence we received has been sent to council prior to the meeting.
So we're going to begin testimony with Cecilia Barandiaran, Management Analyst.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor Sanchez and council members. I am here tonight to present the draft 22-23 Annual Action Plan funding priorities at our public hearing. The 22-23 Action Plan addresses the third year of our consolidated plan and identifies required public participation, funding uses, national and local objectives, and will be submitted to the Department of Housing and Urban Development, commonly known as HUD. The allocation of our federal HUD dollars to projects and activities has certain requirements, which include projects needing to meet national objectives of either benefiting low and moderate income persons, elimination of slums or blight, such as demolition of a vacant, deteriorated, abandoned building, or addressing the urgent needs, such as from a flood or earthquake. Due to the demanding nature of the national objectives, the benefit is generally documented through verification that the project or clients served are low and moderate income qualified. The primary objective of the CDBG program is the development of viable urban communities through decent housing, a suitable living environment, and expanding economic opportunities for low and moderate income persons. While home funding is limited to create and retain affordable housing in our community. Additionally, agencies receiving federal funds, inclusive of public services, capital projects, economic development activities, require that the agencies meet national objectives, have their organizational capacity, adequate administrative and financial processes, and systems in place that are required for the implementation of the CDBG funds. To ensure citizen participation, the community meeting flyer, as shown up there, was shared via the city social media channels, sent to various e-blast groups, added to the city calendar of events, and circulated by Resource Center staff in the Crown Heights, Libby Lake, and Tri-City neighborhoods. Community input was also solicited through SurveyMonkey, and those are in your attachment. As part of that, we developed what were the highest needs for each category of affordable housing, homelessness, community development, and economic development. For affordable housing, lack of affordable housing and the need of rent control to address gentrification. For shelter, services that address mental health, access for services for homeless, such as basic needs, food, water, hygiene. For youth programs or community development, There was a big push for youth programs extending their hours into the evening, expanding it to college kids. They also need the assistance. And programs that provide maybe free childcare. In regards to expanding job training opportunities, what came up was discussions regarding home-based businesses, programs such as maybe training to be a childcare assistant, cooking, salon certifications, or provide maybe small business loans or grants. All assisted activities will need to provide documentation of the low-income benefit. That's for both affordable housing, public services, and job training programs. Collect household information, demographics, other things required by our HUD funding. For economic development in which a new job is created, verification would be that the person hired is a qualified low-income individual for that business. Entitlement figures are based on our current allocation. We have not yet received next year's allocation for the CDBG and home program. And it consists of our repaid loans and any expended funds at the end of the year. We have caps on a lot of our funding. Our public services are capped at 15%, which is shown there as $217,107. Council previously gave direction to fund youth and senior programs run through our city resource centers and our community facilities. We have another cap for our administration and planning at 20%. And that is for housing program development, fair housing, and grants administration. Our home administration is capped at 10%. Due to the 15% cap on public services and other local and federal programs, Section 8 and Measure X are used to address homelessness prevention and homeless serving programs. We also have funding for 2 capital projects, Brook Street ADA, which should begin actual construction June this summer, and the Crown Heights building, probably in the next year, and the Libby Lake recreational amenity. Combined, we have allocated $1,234,525 for capital projects. Capital projects at or over 2,000 trigger additional federal labor requirements, such as the Davis-Bacon Act, prevailing wages, which increase the cost of the project by 20 to 30%, Section 3 compliance in hiring lower income people to work those jobs or provide them expanded economic opportunities. With tonight's public hearing, staff is prepared to accept any additional public comments for the next 30 days. Any comments received will be added to the plan that will be brought back to you at the May 4th meeting. I thank you for your time, and I'm here to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. This is the time for the public, for public comment on this very specific item. Do we have any requests to speak in advance?
Yes, one from Jimmy Knott.
Okay, Jimmy Knott. After Jimmy finishes, if you wish to speak on this item, you do not have to have filed a request for that. You can come up to the podium, state your name clearly, please, so we can make sure we have a record of it, and then speak for up to 3 minutes. So we're going to start first with Mr. Knott. Thank you.
Yes, Jimmy Knott, 127 Sherry Lane. Also, I'm the homeowners representative at La Salina Mobile Village. I want to first address one issue that comes out of San Diego, and that is accessory dwelling units. There have been a lot of new issues coming out of San Diego about that. You may want to take and start getting your ears pinned up for that, because there are a lot of issues with the senior community especially. So I'm not going to go into that. It'd take about an hour or two just to go through that list. Also, missing from the public contact list was the manufactured home communities, which half of which are senior communities. I wish we were included into that. As a result of that, there are a number of issues that both Linda Walshaw and myself have raised over the past year with a former employee, which was Angie Hannafin. And we went through a number of issues with her And when she retired from the city, as you probably have heard, there was a lack of transfer of those issues to the Department of Housing. We wish to have those included. Plus, Linda had a few items, which I'll just read here. One, post city signs at park entrances regarding city ordinance 16B, regarding the buyer's right to rent control. 2, update the city's annual health and safety parks and inspection criteria. 3, notify park representatives in advance of dates, times of annual health and safety inspections. 4, uphold city, state, federal health and safety requirements, including parking, lighting, drainage, and maintenance requirements. Lighting, if you recall, should be done at night, not during the day. Uphold city prohibition against short-term rentals and mobile home parks. Allow developers to donate a portion of their projects' lands to be used for new nonprofit manufactured housing. 7, create city plan for protecting, preserving existing parks and housing for seniors, low-income families, veterans, disabled, etc. And finally, create the city plan to address the county's expected large increase in the areas for senior populations. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any other requests, any other persons in the room who wish to address this item? Please rise and approach the podium. I see no one else rising. I'm going to go ahead and close this portion of the meeting. And did you want to address anything that was addressed by the public? Ms. Barandijan, I think Cecilia.
Honorable Mayor, council members, I'll try and address some of the issues that have been raised. Obviously, the ADU.
Leilani Hines, who is the Director for Neighborhood Services, is now speaking.
Leilani Hines, Director, Housing and Neighborhood Services. So specifically on the ADU issues, you all are very, very well aware the state does issue a lot of edicts to us as local governments, and ADUs is one of them. There are a number of community issues that are raised out of ADUs, as well as some of the other state housing policies. So it is one that we are watching and aware of. Unfortunately, there are a lot of state mandates that we just don't have a lot of local control over. In terms of the manufactured communities and the interest list, certainly we apologize that those communities were not informed of our notices or of the meetings. We will ensure that they are always part of our community outreach efforts. Regarding posting of city signs to the disclosure of the mobile home park ordinance, along with that, any education of our community of their rights, their responsibilities under the Manufactured Home Fair Practices Act is absolutely necessary. It does become difficult when you're asking a private property owner to post a city signage. So if private property owners are agreeable to that, that's certainly something that we can discuss. But efforts to educate our community about the laws and what their rights are is something that we can also do as well. Health and safety inspections, that's kind of a two-part issue. We do a smaller inspection program related to our rent review process. That looks at more general, bigger topic issues. And then there is a separate HCD Title 25 inspection program that we do on all mobile home parks as an enforcement agency of state HCD. That inspection program also is dictated to us by state HCD as well. So it does have very specific requirements and a checklist that we abide by in doing that inspection program. And so that is what we follow when we look at whether it's the inspection program for the rent review cases or if it's the inspection program under Title 25. Short-term rentals, I can't really speak to that, but I will look into that issue related to mobile home parks. Developers donating land for the construction or provision of mobile home and manufactured housing, that's certainly something that we can consider under the inclusionary housing updates that we will be bringing forward to you, the donation of land for affordable housing, whether it's a manufactured community or whether it's a rental community. That's certainly an option that developers should be able to do or could do with the approval of the City Council. And then in terms of protecting affordable housing, senior populations, disabled populations, veterans, in terms of city policies, I think those are laid out within the housing element that was just adopted by the City Council and in review by state HCD at this point in time, lays out many programs in there to talk about affordable housing and how we can best serve some of our more vulnerable population groups in the community.
Thank you. To the council, this is, again, not for action tonight. We are to receive the presentation. We certainly want to hear from our council members. Councilmember Rodriguez.
Thank you for that presentation and this update. It's good to see that we went to several corners of our community to get feedback on what the community would like to see. And I'm going to touch on a few of those bullet points. It seems like there's an overwhelming support and issue surrounding homelessness. And we all on this council are very aware of the impacts to our community. And I'm so thankful that we have multiple moving parts in our partnership with San Diego Rescue Mission to open a year-round shelter that offers services, takes individuals off the street as they are, and will help them move on a pathway to not being homeless, reintegrated back into society, being the best they can be with their life. And so I'm looking forward to updates on that from staff and hopefully some sort of a community grand opening dynamic. And so with respect to homelessness, our modified hybrid hotel voucher program has been successful. It's actually producing results that are above industry standards on getting individuals off the street into permanent housing or into a program. Now, you have to understand that we can approach somebody that's homeless with an opportunity for service, but the recent polling out of San Diego is showing that upwards of 80% of individuals that are on the street refuse help. And it's not illegal to be homeless, but it is illegal to break local laws. And so we're going to look to enforce our local laws. And if they're being broke or if they're setting up an illegal encampment, we're going to offer them services and ask them to move. And so I encourage the community to be our eyes and ears while you're out there. If you see an illegal encampment, you see something dangerous, please download the My Oceanside app, report it. I've personally reported 2 illegal homeless encampments in the past 10 days that I've seen. And so we all have to come together as a community to report those so we can offer those individuals help and the resources they need to get them off the street and reintegrated back into society. So that's my comments on homelessness. I really think we have a great program going, and I don't see too much need from this to, throw more money at that. I think we have a great plan. But I want to move on to some other priorities in my limited time. The next is housing. Housing is the second biggest issue from these surveys of the community. The community is struggling right now with inflation, with gas prices, with groceries. Anything and everything we can do to offer the community better opportunities for housing. I'm more on the side of an individual who is paying high rent, has decent income, giving them the opportunity to purchase their first home. We've moved on a beta program of a down payment assistance, not using taxpayer dollars, using government in lieu or developer in lieu fees, and we've been able to help. I believe to date we've helped 2 families or 3 families. Is that correct? Is it 2 or 3?
2 families have made
Participated, right? And so the housing inventory is super low for buyers right now, but we've been able to help 2 families who were renting, down payment assistance. When they go to sell the home, they're going to pay that money back. We can reuse it for another family. It's an amazing opportunity. I would like to see city staff expand that opportunity to more Oceanside residents to really set them set them up for success for their family's future and legacy. Youth. Last night, I met elders and leaders of our Samoan community that have been in our city for multiple generations, and they desperately want more programs and opportunities for our youth through our Parks and Rec. They feel that our Parks and Rec department is not meeting the needs of the community. They want to see more opportunities for our youth, more fields, more program funding to get our youth off the street, especially troubled youth who's missing a family member or I know at Prince Skate Park, a lot of the youth that attend that, they go there because they don't have family at home, and that's like their community. And so I kind of adopted that park to work on meeting needs and putting new bathrooms with Councilmember Corey Jensen. But we really need to expand our opportunities to youth, and so I would support several items you guys listed here. Where's the youth? I have it marked, my apologies. I mean, you have youth programs on one, but you also have on another one, you have extend youth program hours, right? That's huge. I've talked to 2 organizations that want to help and want to donate their time, but their complaint to me was the city wanted to put them through this rigorous, crazy, bureaucratic process of paperwork, which I understand as a city, we got to protect our liabilities, but if there's a streamlined approach or an electronic approach to get people so they're not as intimidated by wanting to help and give their time, but also, passing the background checks and things when they're dealing with kids. I mean, I get it. So, if we can balance that out, but I think there's some great opportunities out there. And mental health, I know we have some mental health for our cops, so I think if we can offer some resources, partnering with some local churches or other organizations that offer help for our youth, I think that would be a great resource. And extend youth program for college students. So I really like that. I'd love to see more for our youth. How much time do I have left?
3:38.
All right, I'll try to hurry this up. Hiring. So we adopted another program called Hire Local, which I've heard raving, flying colors, good things about, but I haven't heard too much more about it. And I don't know if that's because we ran out of funding, COVID happened, but I would really like to see that relationship. And for the community that's not aware of the program, the city partnered with Maricosta College and the biggest employers in our city to bridge the gap of credential that a lot of the local workforce doesn't have, that these employers require. So, there's phlebotomy, there's a machinist, there's welding, there's opportunities where they can complete a 4 to 16-month course. At the end of it, they get a certification in a job right here in Oceanside. And so it's an amazing partnership that I would like to see expanded. We have the template, we have the system. I think we maybe just need more funding and marketing to make it happen, but I would love to see a lot more residents go through that program so they can up their incomes and quality of life. Last thing I want to talk about is the home-based business. My mom, when I was growing up, she had an in-home daycare facility. And so I remember she'd have 4 or 5 kids that would come over, and we would be at school, and my mom babysat, and she had to go through all the certifications, and it really helped my family, in our, single mom environment, make that extra residual income. And so any opportunities we can give to our residents to work from home, create income, but also bless other Oceanside residents with a substantial need like childcare, because there's a lot of families out there that have, single mom with 2 kids, to find childcare, she's going to have to, make $50,000, $60,000 a year before she starts making any money to start paying bills. And so any opportunities we can create in the community surrounding home-based businesses, childcare, certifications in our communities would be huge. I have no further comments.
Thank you. I do want to say that attending one of the meetings, I didn't attend all, just one meeting, it became very clear that much of the funds are already kind of committed. CIP, we heard, we've got targeted projects that are very critical projects, and I know that. The good news for the homeless situation is that we did receive $2.25 million in infrastructure funds, federal funds. So I'm very, very happy about that. So that's definitely going to go to our shelter. But these are limited funds. You said 10%, 15%. There's like hardly any real wiggle room. We're all nodding here. But I'm hoping that the comments that have just been made by Councilmember Rodriguez will also be considered toward our ARPA funds that we will be considering later on this in a couple of months. I know that there is a survey that is going out. When is that going out?
So that survey is combined with the CDBG funds. We used it as all federal funds.
Right.
And it encompasses many of the services, whether they're community services, community facilities and improvements.
Right, but when is the survey going to hit the resource centers?
It's been out. It has been out.
Okay, because I did ask this, one of the resource centers, and it's not there. So that's my concern. I keep asking about that survey, and I still haven't gotten a really good response about it. But one of the things that I wanted to ask here is, we know that and this is not a lot of money, right? I think 20 years ago we had almost double, I think. But anyway, the funds that we get are based on a formula and determined by our demographics, basically. So, and that is census data, right? So now that we have a new census, which are the census tracts or blocks that are being used by HUD to determine the amount of funding that our city will be eligible for? And what neighborhoods are contained in those census tracts and or blocks?
So, Mayor Sanchez, I actually did review the CDBG formula for how it's allocated, and it's based on certain demographic information, which is pulled from census data. So basically, they are looking at what is 25% of your population, 50% overall poverty, and then 25% overcrowded. And then based on that and our they will then identify what our appropriation is. In terms of your other component of like the census areas, we did create a map with GIS that has both the CDBG eligible areas, also then overlaid by the districts. Predominantly, District 1, I believe, is almost entirely within the CDBG eligible areas, but there are pockets in every district.
Okay, so you'll get me that information, because I would really like to have specifics. I've been asking for this information for a few weeks now, and I would really like to have that information. Thank you. All right, Councilmember Jensen?
Hi. I have a question. There's a line item for mobile home rehabilitation grants, and there's no funding for it. And I think Mr. Knott brought up a very good point that our seniors are going to be hit the hardest with their restricted incomes, with the price of gas and everything going up. And so I'm wondering if there's a way we can find.
If you're discussing attachment B?
Yes.
Okay, the funding for single-family and mobile home rehab is the $100,000 for our management loan services, and you'll see that it's also identified in the analysis chart of the $100,000. That is for the kind of direct service for the rehab and mobile home programs that we do in-house.
Okay, so Mr. Knott, will that be acceptable?
You know, it's such a small amount of money that we're talking about, divided by I don't know how many needs. But this is something that we have had from day one of CDBG.
Right.
So I think, Mr. Knott, you knew about that, right?
Yeah.
Any amount is acceptable, more the better.
Right. Yeah, which leads to another question. Can we request more funds?
Right.
Unfortunately, no, we receive an entitlement. We have no say on what we receive.
I was kind of joking, being facetious. Well, I wish we could, I mean, I wish we had 10 times or 20 times this amount, but unfortunately we do not. There are no other comments. So we did receive the presentation. We don't have to vote on anything here this evening. Correct, Mr. Mullen? We don't have to vote on receiving the presentation.
That's right.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right, we are now on public communications on off-agenda items. How many requests do we have?
We have 4 requests to speak.
Thank you, Cecilia.
Our first speaker is Katie Taylor, to be followed by Mark Dice, to be followed by Wendy Bravo.
Thank you for letting me address you again, and I have a solution. I'm not just going to complain, I'm bringing to you an easy, fast, quick solution to help with our homeless problem. This is a picture of Lagoon View Drive. It is a street that is within Oceanside. It runs south of the 78, and it is just south of Jefferson Street. It is a congregation center for the homeless, vehicles that camp overnight. It is just, it's a blight. And what we can do is just block off the access to Lagoon View Drive. You can do a crossbar drop, similar to people with private roads, private driveways. There can be a lock on it, and emergency vehicles or any necessary vehicles can get into the area. It's called a simple crossbar drop. And that will prevent, just today, I was down there, and there's derelict motorhomes, there's people camping overnight. This is where all the panhandlers who stand on all the little off-ramps there stand to get their money. Just in the short time, the little triangles, those are all the tents I could see from there. And the short time I was driving, if you go across Jefferson and you're right there by the New Scripps Hospital and the access to Walmart, I saw 9 abandoned shopping carts. There's a picture of that as well. So we could do something quickly and simply that will take that attractive nuisance area off the plate until we can get our homeless problem more under control. I also want to bring to your attention, there's a picture too, there's a huge encampment behind Hobby Lobby off Plaza Drive. I just would like, and there's the shopping cart pictures that I just took today. Shopping carts. Working with Carlsbad and a team over there, Carlsbad now has an enforcement program to remove shopping carts off Carlsbad streets. Starting in November 2021, it has been a big impact for downtown Carlsbad on the parks there. Oceanside needs to immediately adopt the same aggressive shopping cart removal program. They took action under their quality of life ordinance. I think they've already removed over 50 shopping carts. And we could do the same thing. I'm truly sick and tired of seeing homeless encampments and nothing being done. This is something we can control better. If you just took action on this Lagoon View Drive, which would be simple, fast, and easy, we can make a huge difference for Carlsbad. And I want to thank Councilman Jensen and Christopher Rodriguez, Councilman. Thank you for the leadership you've shown so far on this homeless issue. It is so important to our quality of life. And I'd really appreciate your help and consideration for looking at this Lagoon View Drive, because we could take action on that ASAP. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Taylor, I invite you to speak with Michael Gossman from our city manager's office.
Where?
Meet outside to, yes, he's got it, he's raised his hand. So that you can give him the addresses. He does the follow-up on that.
Okay. I'll go get his name and number right now.
There you go. Thank you very much. Outside. Okay, Mark Dice.
Mark Dice. To be followed by Wendy Bravo, to be followed by Jimmy Knott.
Thank you. I'm Professor Mark Dice. I teach gender studies at California State University, and my colleagues and I across the country have been making tremendous progress in shattering the gender binary. We've introduced, as you know, a growing list of over 57 different gender identities. Many people don't know which gender they want to be. It's an extremely creative process. The reason I'm here is obviously the college students, young adults, their minds still fairly malleable. But we've seen the Don't Say Gay bill being passed in Florida. And if we're going to truly succeed in the New World Order, we're going to have to reach the younger children. And maybe on a local level, we could start with introducing ordinances to ban even identifying anyone as a gender at all. And with misgendering someone, obviously a lot of hostilities come with that. And if we can stop referring to the children as just boys, girls, he's or she's, until they're old enough to decide, perhaps then we can stop some of these hostilities. We can complete let's just be honest here, the Marxist revolution. We can get to the point where a lot of us can shed the label of a Democrat and just openly admit that we are Marxists. And we've made such progress. The LGBT community and the acronym has grown to LGBTQAI+, but still a lot of people aren't sure what any of these acronyms stand for. And again, repealing the First Amendment on a national level may be a little bit difficult, but we've seen surveys conducted on the Oceanside Pier that there are a lot of people that are willing to accept that. So we're just recommending the Bilderberg Group, think tank, some of our associates, World Economic Forum are recommending that on local levels we prevent the gendering of children at all. As you know, children will believe virtually anything at a young age. They believe that a man in a red suit flies around and brings presents to them every Christmas. And if we can convince them that there is no such thing as gender, that boys can be girls, girls can be boys, that men can get pregnant, that women can have external genitals, penises, then I think that we'll be able to really succeed in what it is that we're trying to do here. And ultimately, at some point, as we know, the red, white, and blue stripes will be replaced with the pyramid with the rainbow stripes on it as well to represent the LGBTQAI community. And the cultural Marxism is in a collegiate level. Everyone's familiar with critical race theory, but in order to really succeed, we're going to have to start reaching the children on a younger level. And again, by the time a lot of these students reach college, many of them are set in their ways. Some of them are watching Tucker Carlson, other YouTubers.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
For more, subscribe to the Mark Dice YouTube channel.
That's it.
For
Thank
more
you.
information.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I think we have Mark, Jim, we have Wendy Bravo next. Did you want
to? Wendy Bravo
Let-
took and she followed through at the last meeting when I pointed out about Zoom.
I'm sorry, is Wendy Bravo in the room?
She sent an email and she asked. to take
Okay,
it
so
up
she's
red.
not in the room, so we'll get to, so it's Jimmy Knott, right? Jimmy, you would like to speak for 3
Yes.
minutes? Yes.
And I gave a copy of this letter from Wendy Bravo to our city clerk. And she also included her phone number if you wanted to contact her.
Thank you.
Okay. My input to now is a bit from the South Oceanside meeting last night. And I was really surprised at how we all were trying to find answers. One was with the situation down at Buccaneer Beach, down at the park down there, and also numerous other parks and areas in the city. And that is the need for park rangers. The reason for that is that we need someone to ticket people who do not monitor their pets and like waste retrieval and proper disposal and other issues at the parks. That's number one. And then when OPD gave their report, they were reporting about how that they were having trouble due to the state laws with enforcing certain issues, like with catalytic converter thefts and removal. They pointed out that some of these items they remove are done by gangs going from one city to another to another. Well, we had the OPD did their engraving. Well, we also were looking at it and said, why doesn't the city have an additional ordinance that would take and strengthen so that they could take and ticket and put into the city ordinance that if anyone from outside the city does like that, and to any citizen in the city, that there will be an additional fine, additional penalty for any type of removal of a catalytic converter. That would give them additional power instead of having to take and reduce it like that. And that would also go for siphoning or drilling for gasoline. And that this would take and look at it, and also taking from other counties coming into our area and putting an additional ordinance that would be able to help out. Finally, there is a situation of squatters that they're running into our OPD, and they have an issue with the Water Building Department, and that when people squat, they go in, they take the issue of taking a water bill. They go in, register that they are now needing the water turned on, or getting the amenities and utilities involved. Why can't we take and have some sort of requirements that they have to have it from the property owner? Those and other issues were discussed at the South O meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Knott. Thank you. General council member comments. Councilmember Rodriguez.
We live in the greatest and freest country in the world, and we have an amazing Constitution that has a First Amendment that protects 5 inalienable rights, which include religion, speech, press, assembly, and petition. And Mr. Dice, who approached us and utilized that First Amendment right, I respect. I fought in Iraq to protect that right, and I'm going to listen to everything he has to say, but I don't have to agree with it. And I don't. And my comments with respect to his as a father of 7 children in public schools, we have a failing public education system in the state of California because of liberal policies, where we have just 10% of black students and 15% of Hispanic students that are proficient in math, which is a requirement to enter the STEM fields of higher education. How in the hell are they going to try to teach my children about gender studies, about critical race theory, when they're failing my children in basic education? So I completely disagree with his approach. I respect, though, his opinion and his First Amendment right to come into our open chambers to the public and say whatever's on his mind. But I completely disagree with him. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other requests to speak from the dais? Anyone on council comments? I just wanted to report really quickly that we did meet at the Buena Vista Lagoon Joint Powers Authority this week. We also had a subcommittee meeting on basically funding the plan for addressing the lagoon, and it's for the restoration. We are working on putting together funding to make it a shovel-ready project. We had already received $3 million in grant funding from state agency, and we are applying for additional funds. One of the things that came up was the opportunity for addressing what will happen with the sand, and there's a very good quality sand in the lagoon once we get started. And we're talking about 2026 to be done, to be shovel ready, and then hopefully by 2030. So it does seem like it's far away, but actually it's not. We have a really good chance of receiving the remainder of the funds without a requirement that there be matching funds from the city council or the city of Oceanside. So we're really, really excited about this. But Matt Hall, mayor of Carlsbad, is truly interested in joining with us and with other North Coastal cities in seeing how we can support this idea of not only just taking the sand and putting it in the appropriate places that will benefit all the cities, especially Oceanside, of course, but in maintaining, the placement of the sand from the lagoon onto the city. So I'm so excited that this was brought up. The question was, can we enlarge the scope, or can we do something that would be at the same time to address the sand? Because the real question here also is timing. Timing is everything, especially when you have to get all the permits in a row. So it is 2022. 2030 will be up really quickly, especially 2026 when we have this shovel ready. That is the expectation. We're all really hoping that it's going to be online, on board. And so this is something that we can all really rejoice in, and putting in the idea of getting sand on our beaches. And with that, I'd like to go ahead and adjourn this meeting to Wednesday, April 6, 2022, 3:30 for our next regularly scheduled City Council meeting for the City of Oceanside. Thank you.